Welcome back. I'm here today with John Dutra. He's the CEO of Dutra Real Estate. John, welcome to today's show.
Thank you very much, Alan. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, John, for the listeners, can you give us your background of how you got to where you are today? And
Grew up mostly in the Bay Area. Been here in California all my life. Went to school here. Went to Hewlett-Packard. Started working at Hewlett-Packard in the 70s. Worked my way up and was awarded a mechanical engineering program with Hewlett-Packard. Left Hewlett-Packard and eventually came to what was then Dutra Real Estate back in the 70s. Started working there as a salesman first and then left the business. It was a family-run business, and at the time, working with my father wasn't exactly, I want to be a little more independent at that point in my life, and so kind of ventured off onto my own. Came back in the early 90s and have been working there ever since.
And so from you're primarily focusing on commercial real estate now?
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. My father started the company in 1972. In fact, we just celebrated our 45th anniversary 3 days ago. So 45 years here in the Bay Area in Fremont. And we started off as a residential real estate firm. By 1998, we were the 75th largest real estate firm anywhere in the United States. And that was all family owned. It was a private business at the time. And we came to a crossroads of sorts where the decision was to either jump in with the big guys or sell it and move on to a different type of business, commercial. And we chose to sell it at what we think was probably the best time, and have been commercial ever since 1999.
You know, it's been quite a change since 1972 when you started out to today.
Oh, sure.
And what are some of the noticeable changes that you see of, where the industry is?
Nobody could have predicted the values for the properties here in the Bay Area that you see today. In 1972, I think my father bought a home for $24,950. That same home would sell easily over $1 million today. So the trend, the population growth, the demand for business, the attraction for commercial, retail, electronic business here, technology business in the Bay Area is just overwhelming. It's such a great place to grow as a company.
Is there a certain geographical locale you focus in on? Is it limited to the Bay Area, to certain parts of the Bay Area? Or?
Well, we could tend to go just about anywhere. The Bay Area is our focus. We do primarily our business here. We have most of our holdings here. In terms of buildings, but we could go anywhere and do business. So,
and then what type of services do you offer within, aside from your personal investments? What other services do you offer within Dutra Real Estate or Enterprises?
We're a commercial brokerage and a land entitlement firm. So while we will help sell real estate and or acquire real estate for our buyers, we also do land entitlement. That's been a focus of our business for quite a while. We've done that even before the early 90s when we went commercial. So land entitlement involves taking a piece of property and maximizing the value for the owner, and or taking that and then buying it from the owner and then maximizing it for our company.
That's a big area, isn't it?
It's a very big area, yes.
Especially, it seems that as the population becomes more dense, the requirement for better use and higher use of property is even in greater demand.
Exactly. We do a lot of work with both private owners as well as the school districts in our area. We do work with churches in our area. A lot of churches have seen the value of their land and have taken that value out in order to expand or move to a different area or even combine. Our goal has always been to provide the client with the very best knowledge that they can have so they understand what they can get out of their properties.
I'm visiting here today with John Dutra. He's the CEO of Dutra Enterprises. It's a company focused on commercial real estate, primarily here in the Bay Area and more specifically in the Fremont community. And John, I'm running up against the break. And so right after these messages, we'll be back more with John Dutra. But you can't take your wealth with you. Spend time with your family. Welcome back. I'm visiting here today with John Dutra, Dutra Enterprises. It's a firm focused on commercial real estate. And John, in the first segment, we're talking about one of the services that you offer is helping to maximize the value of the property.
Correct.
So when I want to spend a few minutes talking about the approach to highest and best use that you guys use.
When a client comes to us, typically with open land, we'll take a look at and value the land based upon what the city looks at, which would be zoning or the general plan for the site, and look to see if there's any value there with regard to development, either infill project where we're helping to put some homes there, or a commercial site, and look to see what would be the best value for the client. Often that involves a level of risk. So you could tell a client that their best value may be, for instance, building residential homes on their acreage. That will get them the most money, which is typical for the area. However, the level of risk is such that when you go to the city, they may or may not approve it. They may not allow you to build there, or they may not allow you to build enough homes to where it's profitable for the homeowner. So many homeowners or landowners choose to sell the property directly to us, or we broker it to another entity who then takes on that risk and goes to the city and looks to entitle the property at that point.
You know, they call holding raw land a rich man's game.
That's true.
And so this is not a short process.
No. Entitlement processes run, especially right now, anywhere from 12 to 18 months, occasionally a little longer. And so there's a time element involved too that most landowners are not used to because they hear of a residential home selling in 30 days. So that process is a long one.
And what typically, by changing the zoning requirements, what typically happens to value?
Well, if you're able to change the zoning, and you don't necessarily have to change the zoning, the general plan may have already designated that area for a specific type of zoning that's fully applicable to building homes. You might be just okay. However, if you're looking for a stronger density, then there's a zoning change that's involved. Usually it's called a PD, a planned district. At that point, you're asking the city to revise for maybe smaller lots, which has a whole different type of building pattern to it. And with that designation, you're looking at floor area ratios for homes, so they can only cover a certain portion of the lots. You're looking at open space requirements for the development. You're looking for utilities. You're looking for now water runoff, which is a huge issue here in the Bay Area, and so on. So it's a very, I wouldn't say complicated process, but probably only because I've been doing it for 20-something years.
So I guess it speaks to the fact it's important to use somebody who's been through the process before and is familiar with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It goes back to what we deem as a value. This is not necessarily a personal thing for us in terms of how we make money. I mean, we do make money, but it gives us the greatest pleasure to know that we've helped the people that don't necessarily do this on an everyday basis get the most value for their land and their families for years to come. So.
Yeah, it seems like within recent years, the city has really taken on an approach to allowing more housing units to come into Fremont.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell what's driving that right now?
Well, a lot of it's trying to take an old design and make it applicable in the current times. So the city of Fremont was developed with a few main roads that weren't really set up for a higher population. For instance, we're probably about 220,000, I think, now at this point. And so the city of Fremont's trying to build transit-oriented development. And what that means is you build higher densities towards places like BART, ACE trains, and so on, where you can have people that will literally work and then walk to BART and jump on BART rather than having to get in their car and use the Bay Area. That's the trend for development nowadays. So you're seeing more development with that aspect to it, similar to the downtown, but a little bit different than years past.
And I think that's coming on necessity because the infrastructure, the roads simply can't handle the people.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
So.
Go ahead.
So, John, I'm running up against the break.
Okay.
And so I need to take another break. I'm visiting here today with John Dutra, Dutra Enterprises, CEO. And after we get down through the break, I want to come back and get more on a personal level of how you find balance in your life.
That'd be great.
We'll be right back after these messages.
I love fishing, with my family.
I think it would be easier to use a net.
It was so much fun.
The times when we are together, it makes it all the more worth it.
Having Dad teach them how to cast a fly rod, and
as long as we're doing stuff together, we're having fun.
Some people see a father and a son fishing together, while others see a succession plan.
Welcome back. I'm visiting here today with John Dutra. He's the CEO of Dutra Enterprises. And John, I really appreciate you being here today on the show. Before the break, we're talking about real estate trends in Fremont and the up and coming. I guess there's a lot of high density housing around the transits, mass transit areas at BART and the ACE train, which is kind of changing the whole landscape of this city. But I want to move topic now to more from the personal standpoint of you got the career or business and then, your personal side, and how do you balance it all?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a very tough one. I grew up in a household with a father that was a very driven man. An engineering background. He is very precise in everything he does and a very strong work ethic. So growing up with that, I kind of adapted to that, if you will. I've worked 2 jobs for last 30 years, and I work long hours. However, I also have been drawn towards my faith. I'm a Christian and I attend church here in Fremont, and it's become a very strong drive for me in terms of my passion, rededication to my family, who's always been number one for me, but I'm more and more realizing that time is the greatest gift that you can give anything. So,
I have to take a little bit of time to mention about your dad. When I was 27 years old, I bought my first home in the Centerville area here. I had 2 young children, and your father at that time was running for city council, and he had been going from door to door in our neighborhood. We were not home, but he had taken a 3x5 note card and hand wrote out the whole "Dear Alan and Susan, sorry that I missed you. My name's John Dutra." I didn't even know him, but I got that and I thought, my gosh, the whole thing's written out in pen, and I was rubbing it off to see, is this real for real? And that impression of your dad has never left me, with the hard work ethic.
Yeah.
And I know that he's a pillar in the community, raised his family here, and that so when you talk about the faith and the family, the importance to you, I get it. So let's talk about what role faith has played for you in the decisions that you make in life.
Oh, only the biggest.
Okay.
There's a part of you when you grow up as a young man, you think you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, I guess, and you think that you control your life, and that's not true. It's just not true. I felt that I'm built for one purpose. I was made for one purpose, and that's to serve. I definitely want to give back to the community, my family, and my God. I can't imagine not living my life any other way now. And so faith is the basis for all of my decisions and how I live my life.
There's something about when you have faith in your life and you give service, it really becomes fulfilling.
Oh, unbelievably so, yes. Service is everything. I serve in Rotary. I serve with my church. I serve in our community. I volunteer. I'm on the Park and Rec Commission. The chair for the Fremont Prayer Breakfast, and so on. But at the end of the day, all I do is look up and give all the glory to God.
It's a great thing to live by.
Yes.
And so when you go through your day-to-day decisions, and obviously, we're always in a period of juggling.
Mm-hmm.
I hear that faith is on the downside here.
Mhm,
People are getting preoccupied with, all the things that the clutter.
Yes.
How do you keep focused?
I start every single day of my life. I get up and I get out of bed and I thank God for the day, first and foremost. From that point on, usually I'm scrambling around the house. I walk my dogs in the morning, and when I walk, I just have a overwhelming sense of appreciation for the beauty of the day and the neighborhood and the gifts I've been given, such as a job and a home and the family who loves me. And starting my day in that manner is just the best way to go for me, and really starts my day off right. I'm also a very strong believer in prayer. I think prayer is an amazing gift to be able to talk to God directly, and I use that multiple times throughout the day, every day, for every situation.
John, when you look at the youth today, they're clearly in a different environment than when we grew up. How do you help get the messages to the kids about the importance of important things of life that are of close value to you? As
I've gotten more and more involved with our church, I've asked to step up and be part of a mentorship or leadership role in our church. I completely agree with you that with technology and you always have to be focused on something every single second. It really doesn't leave a lot of room for God. And I think that so many of our younger men and women really need that, really want that, but don't know how to get there. And so the best thing that I can do is probably show them through the way I live my life, show them how much God truly loves them, and then spell that out. Just recently, I was asked to speak about God in my life to the youth that do the setup at our church. And I just told them how much it meant to me. And after we all broke, I must have gotten like 5 or 6 pats on the back and several handshakes saying how much that meant to them, which just was overwhelming to me because I don't consider myself necessarily a teacher. But it was awesome.
I guess living life by example and loving is probably the most effective way to reach out.
Exactly.
So, well, John, we're running up against the break again. Any final messages on for the group here?
I just want to thank Alan and his family for the time that he's given me here. It's just like talking to a best friend, and so I'm so grateful for that. But I also want to make sure that others know that if anybody has any questions at all, they can always call me anytime, and I'd be glad to help them.
And how would they reach out to you?
They can reach me out at my office. I can give a phone number. It's 510-353-9984, and I look forward to helping any of you or your families.
Been visiting here today with John Dutra, Dutra Enterprises. John, thanks for being on today's show.
Thank you so much, Alan.